Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Franco here, and I am back with another Clash of Clans video today. And wow, I actually didn't even notice I actually have a builder open right now. I guess he's gonna have to wait till after this video. But what I wanted to talk about was if you should or should not buy the Spiky Ball. And I have a very strong opinion on this, and there's two trains of thoughts. There's one you should buy it, and one you shouldn't buy it. And there's a couple arguments for why you shouldn't buy it, and I'll throw on some of my attacks from the previous war just to, I don't know, have something running in the background. I think I attacked number 7. Yeah, but okay, so one of the main things for why you shouldn't buy the Spiky Ball is if you just kind of don't really care about hero equipment and you're free to play and you're casual and you're just like, you know, I'd still use a barbarian puppet, like whatever. Like you don't care too much about hero equipment, and like why would you waste your medals from this event on something that you're never going to use? And there could be multiple reasons. One, you think it's just not good, which I think is what the dominant opinion is. A lot of people aren't buying this because they're like, oh, just such a bad equipment. And or another thing is maybe you're free to play like me, and you're just like, hey, I don't want to waste all the medals that I have on this equipment or equipments in general, unless they're really good. And like some people buy the giant gauntlet, and some people don't. Some people are like, hey, all of the hero equipments don't matter. Like the default ones and the common ones that you get are good enough. And that's honestly a pretty good argument. Like I could see how you could think that the equipments don't really matter. Like you could just easily get by with just the levels of the heroes and just upgrading the ones that you have currently up to the max level. And then there's also another added benefit that if you don't end up buying the equipment with these shop whatever, I forget what they were. There's so many events that have gone now. Ice cubes, ribbons. What are they even? Spiky ball, or no, like soccer balls or something, like footballs. So if you don't spend the footballs, eventually the Spiky Ball will be back in the shop for gems. So even if you decide not to buy it, you can always just come back if you decided that, hey, like I actually think it is good after watching a bunch of replays and everything, and opinions on it, and be like, hey, I actually want to buy it now. So then you can buy it, and it's really not that much of a rush, but you might think it is a little bit. You might be like, oh, like the event's ending, I think, now in like a day or two, so like you kind of are trying to do your research now. But if you really want to play it safe, I would suggest not buying it. But then there is an argument for why you should buy it. And this is my opinion, and I bought it on my main account. I bought it on my All Wall Breakers account. I bought it on my Franco 2, Franco 3, which are just Rush Town Hall 16s for just maximum attack power and 0 defense. And I want to buy it on every single one of my accounts. And you might be thinking the reason I want to buy it is because I'm collecting the hero equipments. And, like, kind of, but not really. So yeah, there I got a pretty clean 3-star there. And then I think I attacked lower on my first attack. And this was one of my first 6-star wars in a little while, to be honest. But I think this clan was just trash. I don't remember what they had in the clan castle, but I think it was pretty bad. Let's see what comes. I think it was like witches or something. Whatever. But what a lot of people do, like I remember in that first Halloween event with the lava loon and everything, people were like, oh, I want to buy the skin. Like you get the skin as free to play. Or do I get like I forget what the other thing was. I think it might have been the giant gauntlet. Or no, I don't think the giant gauntlet was around then. But like people were like, oh, I want to buy the skin because like it's super rare and everything. And I'm like, first of all, I don't use any skins. Like in this game, I've always had the default sceneries. Like I don't even put on like the Town Hall 14 scenery or Town Hall 15 scenery. I'm like, I like the just green grass. I could care less. But the thing is, like these equipments, you could look at it as a collector's perspective. You could be like, oh, you know, these skins are cool to collect to get all of them, but like also the hero equipment is another thing you can collect. And the hero equipment on top of the skins actually has real function in the game. Like, if you actually decide that it is actually a viable thing to use in whatever random attack strategy you're using, then you're like, oh, it actually has some value. And also, it's a good sink for ores if you are max on ores. It's just a good thing to have all around as a collector, and there's always that backup plan that it actually can be used. Because when you get a skin, like maybe you just decide you don't like it as well, and then it's like completely pointless. Like you just have it in your little thing, and there's really no use for it. But like the Spiky Ball, like if you collect it, you can always decide you use it. The collector's perspective, like, has some value to it. Like, I that's not the driving factor of why I bought it. But the main reason on why you should buy the hero equipment. So, to take you back in time, when the Giant Gauntlet came out, there were so many people like, oh, it's not worth it. You have to spend the medals. I don't even remember what event it was for. Like, oh, you have to, it's so much, and instead you can buy 3 books of heroes. Like, you can get so much more progress. And as free to play or whatever, like, don't you prioritize progress so much more? I'm like, yes, I really do. And so many people didn't buy the Giant Gauntlet. I forget when this was, December, I think. Like, yeah, it was like the Christmas one. And then you had to wait all the way till like February to be able to buy it in the shop. And I know so many people that even passed it up in the shop. And I'm like, do you guys realize, like, that was the greatest hero equipment by far that was ever released. Like, that is the most overpowered hero equipment. And I heard so many people, like, everybody's always so undecided when a hero equipment drops if it's good or not. And that's, like, my main point, is, like, there's no way to actually know. We'll just watch a replay from the #1 guy here. There's no way to actually know if the hero equipment's good, because the Giant Gauntlet, I remember when it came out, there were some people, this kid, Aiden Brewer, my clan, he was so diehard, his brother was like, it is the worst equipment, nobody should ever buy it. And I remember he was saying that in the chat, and I was like, oh man, like, I was kind of scared. It's like propaganda, kind of, like, you kind of don't really know what to expect, and especially with it being the first hero equipment, it had so much more value to that, and so many people, like, just were like, yeah, like, maybe he's right, like, maybe all these people that are like, hey, it's not worth it, are right. And I'm sure a lot of the player base actually didn't buy it. And now we look at it from May 2024, about 5 months later, and it is used in 90, well, I mean, I would say 99 to, actually, I feel like 100% of attacks. Like, there is no attacks out there that you are not using the Giant Gauntlet. The only ones that you don't use it are if you actually don't have it still. And it's funny because people were so rivaled when it came out. And if you might be thinking like, oh, that was a one-off because that was the first hero equipment ever and people didn't really know, that's fair. And it was like an epic and people didn't really know the value of epics at the time. And there's another example, which people don't even want to talk about either, is the Hog Puppet and whatever. Like, when the Hog Puppet dropped, I know you didn't have to buy that one in a shop or anything, but it just shows how off people's opinions are on these hero equipment. I remember when the Hog Puppet dropped for the Royal Champion, people were like, oh, the Seeking Shield is bad and the Haste Vial is so much better, like, just substitute the Haste Vial for the Seeking Shield. And I remember even pros, like Itsu or whatever, everybody was just shitting on the Hog Puppet, being like, the Hog Puppet's the most useless piece of equipment, like, it generates the hogs and they die right away, or they sit behind the Royal Champion, doesn't even do anything. And from what I understand, I don't even think it got a buff, and it is the dominant equipment on the Royal Champion. And I'm like, I remember how bad everybody thought that equipment was. Like, it was seen as, like, a waste. Like, why did they even put it in the game, the Hog Puppet? Let's see. Well, some people still have the default because it's just another common. But it does increase the attack time, which is a huge thing for Town Hall 16. Same with the Haste Vial. And it also gives some health recovery, like the Royal Gem. But that's another example of how off people's opinions were, because everybody was so convinced that the Hog Puppet was the worst thing ever. And then as weeks went by, more and more pros started adopting it, and then eventually every single pro attack uses the Hog Puppet. There's no doubt about it. Like I would say 100% of them. Nobody's going to swap out for the Seeking Shield unless it's like some weird Earthquake Zap attack or something. And then it brings us to the current scenario with this Spiky Ball that nobody actually uses. I know the last replay guy actually was using it with a pretty horrible combination of the Giant Gauntlet. Like, it doesn't... Giant Gauntlet is so much better with the Rage Vial, like, you just speed through the base. And I am seeing the same thing again. So many people are like, the Spiky Ball is so pointless, it's another epic, it's gonna cost so many ores to upgrade, I don't have any ores, I have all my other stuff that I have to upgrade, blah blah blah. I'm just like, dude, one, it's not gonna come back for a little while, and even if it does, you're just gonna have to spend gems on it. Like, you never know. These equipments, I'm yet to see an equipment that dropped. Well, okay, I take that back, that statement that I was going to say completely. But I remember how hyped up the Giant Arrow was. Everybody was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to upgrade the Giant Gauntlet because the Giant Arrow's coming out. Or not the Giant Arrow, sorry. I misspoke. The frozen arrow. I remember the frozen arrow was seen as the most overpowered equipment that was going to drop, and now people are just like, oh, it's not even that good. Like a lot of strategies don't even use it. A lot of people just use invis and healer puppet or giant arrow healer puppet, or honestly just a lot of people still use the archer puppet because it gives a lot of stats damage and it's not as expensive to upgrade or whatever. But yeah, like there's so many misconceptions when hero equipment drops, and to judge it early and not buy it, I think is a complete mistake. Supercell is literally giving you enough medals to buy it, and if you're gonna get greedy and buy a book or potions or whatever, ores, I just think that's a mistake. And like, why not use the resource that they're literally giving you for free? And I know it's probably not the most accepted opinion. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it sucks. Like, it's such a bad equipment. Like, the Giant Gauntlet exists." And that is a fair point. Like, the Giant Gauntlet does exist, and it is the best hero equipment in the game. And it's kind of like counterintuitive that, like, hey, you have the best equipment in the game. Why buy another one for the same hero? But I just think it's too hard to judge this early. You have to see how pros use it. You have to see how casuals use it. It could be the best equipment for the casual player. Like, because I know a lot of the times it's like, oh, like if you plan it out with like invisibility spells or something, like it can target really well. But if you upgrade it from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, the number of targets goes to 6. It's already viable at that time. Literally level 3. Like, you don't even need to upgrade this thing that high for it to be very strong, or strong enough, honestly. It's essentially the King's giant arrow, but a little bit more random, and I think it does a lot more damage, honestly, because it's an epic equipment. It's just like an epic giant arrow, and there's really no way to tell. And when there's no way to tell, and everybody's swaying one way towards how bad it is, you kind of got to get a little bit skeptical. You gotta look at it again and be like, I think it's worth the risk. Because what am I going to get? A couple shiny auras, a little trophy, a shovel, which I got, by the way, and a pet potion. That's what I bought with it. But that's just my opinion. And let me know in the comments if you actually ended up buying the Spiky Ball or didn't end up buying the Spiky Ball, because I think this is the most controversial hero equipment yet. I think about 50% of the player base has bought it. I think all the other ones, like, it's been about like 80 or 90, or like not 100, but like 80 or 90. And this one I think is just going down as like one of the worst epic equipments. But yeah, I mean, that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.